Got an opportunity to, work our process, work our blocks, work the scheme, against pretty solid interior, defensive line. But got an opportunity to work those fit of the blocks and, work the adjustments that we needed to make. It came out a little bit different than what they had shown from spring, but nevertheless, worked the process and making adjustments as well. So it's good. A lot of guys got in. Wish our, that third line had gotten a little bit more, but if we had we had a faster start, probably would have happened.
Why do you think the offense took a little while to get going?
Oh man, we had to make a couple of adjustments. There are some things that we were seeing that they hadn't shown. But nevertheless, some of that is we got to start faster, and then the other of it is you got to get to the sideline and kind of make the necessary adjustments that you need to make in order to get everybody on the same page. Whether it's the offensive line and running backs, tight ends, and everybody else kind of connected. As to what we were trying to get accomplished.
When you look at the day in totality, did you feel like there was progress, and in what ways, if you did?
Yeah, there was some progress made. Certainly there's an opportunity for us to go out there and work a lot of our schemes, some of our basic schemes, versus those guys, and see it, with different fits, different backer fits. Number 47 is a good player, so certainly he gave us, a lot of work, if you will. But there was some progress that was made, especially, I look at the beginning to the middle and the end of the game, and how we were able to settle down, figure out what they were doing, and then make the necessary adjustments and, fit our blocks better and finish them better.
You guys were calling some longer developing pass plays against Fordham. What's the challenge for your group when you have to protect a little bit longer?
Got to stay on the block a little bit longer. That's the best way I can say it. But nevertheless, our guys were up to the challenge. We knew that we had to get better, especially from week 1 to week 2 protection, and we challenged the guys to get better, and they answered the bell. We had one play where the quarterback had to adjust. Where Adrian that is had to adjust, his setup to work around a tackle that kind of got a little bit of inside push, but nevertheless, I thought our guys did a pretty good job overall in protection all day.
Through 2 games, would you say your offensive line's about where you expected it to be through 2?
The expectation is for us to get better every day, every week. We made progress from week 1 to week 2. This is a gelling process. We got, the left tackle was back and fully healthy this past game. We had worked different guys in during the week, and certainly there's a lot of guys that, we're still working through the kinks of, being young in some cases. And that's the one thing that you get when you got a young offensive line is that, when there's new wrinkles that the defense throws at you, you're going to have to do a good job of coming to the sideline and strategically making the adjustments that need to be made and explaining it in a way where those guys can get it and understand it and pick it up in a short amount of time.
You study the position, you played the position. You can answer this. I don't know this kind of stuff. How often does an offensive line come out and play its best games week 1 and week 2? Does that happen very often?
I don't know. I haven't really studied it from a standpoint of production.
Yeah.
Certainly there's a measure of who you're playing, but when you talk about playing your best game,
yeah,
you're talking about being as detailed as you can, taking the proper footwork, et cetera, et cetera. I think that overall, over the course of a season, you look for progress to be made and those guys gelling, and even, maybe an injury or a tweak here or there, wherever, just those guys binding together and really working, having their best football being played middle to the last part of the season. In the beginning of the season, you're still trying to work through a little bit of some kinks, and there's some things that you've probably seen in fall camp that you got to make adjustments to because you're no longer in fall camp anymore and you're playing different opponents, So, and then there's a lot of, film that you can go buy throughout the year. And that's the one thing that's a big deal early on is that, once you play 3 or 4 or 5 games, now you got 3 or 4 or 5 games of film, your opponent, your matchup, the guy and how he's surfacing blocks, how he's taking on blocks. When you're not equipped with all of that information early on, from time to time, you got to make the tweaks within the game, and if you have a more seasoned offensive line, those tweaks can be made sooner rather than later. The younger you are, the longer it's going to take for you to get those tweaks done. And our guys, like I said, I'm proud of them because they made the necessary adjustments when they needed to make them at the proper time. And then certainly coming out at halftime, we continued on, and the guys were locked in. And all of our guys were locked in. All the guys that played, even when we got the next group in there, they were dialed into the adjustments that we made, and then they kept it going.
Hey, Greg,
You guys have had a lot of transfers on the offensive side who are helping you all over the place. On the line in particular, I'm curious about Nuri and Ezra, and what made you know or believe in the process of finding those guys that they would be good fits to come in and help you?
Well, Nuri is the guy that we really recruited. He came out of Norris, right? And we recruited him as a non-scholarship walk-on initially, and then he ended up going to Colorado State. So we kind of knew what he was about and how he would progress. We knew he had the size. We just didn't know a whole bunch about his ability to play at this level. Obviously went to Colorado State and did well out there. So when he decided that he wanted to come back, we were ecstatic because we felt like, all right, we're getting a guy that's kind of more or less proven. Ezra, we recruited out of high school initially, and then obviously he committed to Iowa early, went to Iowa, things didn't work out there, so we kind of had some intel on him. We knew how good a player he was in high school. So, even when we recruited him, we knew, all right, we're getting, a pretty good player that has some value. Then when they get here, those guys are true to form in terms of their value. Certainly guys that have to continue to develop, but nevertheless, guys that we feel like are going to be good players in the near future.
Is there kind of a new art to having to find those guys that you had a connection with as transfers because you don't get to know them as well as you would a high school player that you're
Yes and no. I mean, when you think about some of these transfers that come in, it's a matter of they've gone through the process of the recruiting process, if you will, and they've built the relationships with that initial school. Now it's a matter of, okay, once you get in, it's more of a business decision. And now once the ancillary people, if you will, some of the parents and guardians and all of those, you'll get connected to them, but you won't have the same connection that you would if you were just recruiting a kid coming out of high school. And quite frankly, when those guys get here, they've gone through the first year of college elsewhere, so a little bit more mature and a little bit more ready intangibly to go and attack the task at hand. They've gone through that first year of having to balance the social life and to balance the football responsibilities, with all of their other responsibilities as collegiate athletes.
What do you think of Buffalo's switch topic big time? Buffalo's pass rush on tape. What do you see?
Yeah, those guys are stingy. I mean, those guys do a good job of working their hands. Okay, they're quick twitch guys that play with a lot of leverage. We got our work cut out for us. Michelle is the guy that's going to come off the edge right there, number 6, and he's going to be quick up the field. And we got to do a good job of reading our keys and making sure that our eyes on the right spot, taking the right set lines. The interior guys are going to push the pocket. Challenge ahead of us. But I think every week you got to continue to build on the challenges. And you got to work the process. So we're dialed into them. Again, like I said previously, when you have film on guys, especially if they played at least one game, now you kind of know, all right, what you're getting yourself into. You can really prepare and really get work on what you know to be the favorite moves of the guys, right? And that's what we're actively working on right now. So we're excited about it, and we're excited to tee it up with them.
You had Teddy Nebraska out there with the second group. What's he done, I guess, to this point to be in a position to be out there with those guys? And I guess how has he kind of progressed? He's been here less than a year. So
Yeah, I mean, he's a kid tangibly that has the tools, right? He's tall, he can bend, his quickness, but intangibly, man, he's a mature kid, and he's, he came in as a mid-year and in spring ball, learned the playbook, did a great job of learning the playbook. Very astute kid, smart, and it was just hard to keep him off the field. It was hard to not give him those opportunities, and with every rep he's grown. He learns from every rep. And one thing about Teddy is that he's hard on himself. And in this life, you got to be hard on yourself. You can't be too hard on yourself. But one of the things that I liked about him was that, he's hard on himself from a standpoint of wanting to get it done. Some guys, when they mess up, especially as a young guy, they just kind of assume, oh, I'm young, I'm still learning. They kind of give themselves some personal grace. Teddy doesn't give himself a whole bunch of personal grace. He's not so hard on himself that he's, that it becomes, volatile. But nevertheless, he wants to be really good. So he deserves the reps that he got, and he made well with them. He did a really good job when he went in there, and it was really good to get him those reps to continue to progress him and progress his game.
And along those lines, do you ever have to remind yourself that you do have a relatively young offensive line?
No.
Why is that? Why?
Because it's your job. You got to get your job done. I don't care if you're a freaking 8th grader. You got to get your job done, right? I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, okay, you don't have the same snaps that a junior or senior,
right,
or, all these starts and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, we work our ass off to get prepared for games, and it's your job to get the job done, especially, considering the young guys that we have are very smart and mature and aware guys. Those guys can pick things up. It's just a matter of, all right, hey, I got to be dialed in, and I got to, I got to be accountable to my job. But no, there's no, hey, you guys are young. No, hell no. You guys got a job to do, get it done.
Well, the reason I say that is their best football is probably ahead, right?
Yeah, but I want their best football right now. Am I being greedy? No. We got to go. We got to get the job done right now.
Hey, Sichterman was kind of talking about your message to them has been about momentum and moments. So during that game, they had a moment where they talked to A.J. Martinez, and he kind of got after them, and then they righted the ship as an offensive line. What did you think about A.J. getting after them, and how do you think they responded to that?
Always good when your team captain or your leader, especially on offense, is getting after guys. To be honest with you, we needed more of that. We need to continue to drive more of that home. Those things are culture builders. That was encouraging for me because I'm like, hey, we got to pick our stuff up. Everybody has to pick their stuff up, okay? And if you're going to yell at somebody, then probably you got your stuff together, or you better get your stuff together as well. So it holds everybody else accountable. I stood here maybe about a few weeks ago and I talked about horizontal leadership. That's horizontal leadership. I'm not the one that needs to be yelling at you guys. You guys need to yell at each other. You guys need to get your shit together. Excuse my French.
Did you know that happened? Did you hear Adrian?
Oh yeah, I heard him in my right ear. He was yelling at me. I was like, bro, let me just get these adjustments done, and then you can say whatever you want to him. But nevertheless, yeah, he was very animated, and I loved it. I loved the energy, and I loved him, coming over there and picking us up.
One more question. Brant Banks was in at guard. I know you guys have kind of repped him at both. I mean, is it kind of week to week with him where he plays, or what's kind of the?
Right now, we're kind of cross training him, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been taking more guard reps, and we're finding the best place for a talented player in Brant. We got to continue to keep him in one spot and let him get really good at that spot and, go from there. Certainly we needed him in week 1 to go out there and service us at tackle until Turner got back fully healthy. And, but I like where he is at guard, and I like his progression.